Captain Zara floated in the observation deck of the starship Defiance, staring at the wreckage of New Geneva Colony through reinforced plasma glass. Her reflection looked back at her, barely 5 feet tall, with dark eyes that burned with fury. The colony had housed 12 million souls just 48 hours ago. Now it was cosmic dust and bitter memories. "Still can't believe they sent you," growled Commander Rex Volkov from behind her. At 6'7", the grizzled veteran made Zara look like a child playing dress-up in a military uniform. "No offense, Captain, but when the Vorthak Empire decides to wipe out entire star systems, we usually send someone who can reach the weapons controls without a stepladder." Zara turned slowly, a smile playing at her lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Rex. Sweet, stupid Rex. Do you know what the Vorthak call humans in their language?" Rex shifted uncomfortably. "Enlighten me." "Squishy snacks." Zara's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Apparently, we're too soft and too small to be worth their time. They consider exterminating us about as challenging as stepping on insects." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. 23 crew members, all of them towering over their diminutive captain, waited for her next words. Zara walked to the central command console, her boots clicking against the metal floor with deliberate precision. "Computer, display Vorthak Dreadnought specifications." A holographic nightmare materialized above the console. The Vorthak vessel stretched nearly 20 miles long, its biomechanical hull pulsing with veins of molten energy. Massive bone-like protrusions jutted from its surface, each one capable of launching planet-killing spores. The ship looked less like technology and more like a living creature that had crawled out of some primordial hell. "The Ravager-class Dreadnought," Zara announced, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "Length, 19.7 miles. Crew, approximately 50,000 Vorthak warriors, each standing 12 feet tall with natural armor plating and enough raw strength to crush a human skull like a grape. Weapons, bioplasma cannons that can glass continents, spore launchers that turn entire worlds into breeding grounds, and adaptive shielding that learns from every attack." Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the ship's weapons specialist, cleared her throat nervously. "Captain, our entire fleet couldn't scratch that thing's paint job. What exactly are we supposed to do against it?" Zara's smile widened, revealing teeth like pearls. "We're going to flip it on its back, Sarah." Literally. The bridge erupted in nervous laughter. Even Rex cracked a grin. "Boss, I've seen some crazy battle plans in my 30 years of service, but that one takes the cake. You planning to tickle it into submission while you're at it?" "Actually," Zara said, her voice suddenly deadly serious, "I'm planning to use the one advantage we have that they never bother to consider." She gestured to herself. "I'm small." The laughter died instantly. Zara pulled up another hologram, this one showing detailed schematics of Vorthak anatomy. Vorthak warriors are impressive killing machines, no doubt about it. 12 feet of muscle and bone, reflexes like striking snakes, and enough firepower to level city blocks. But they have one tiny flaw. She zoomed in on a section of the alien's nervous system. Their neural junction is located right here at the base of their skull, completely unprotected because nothing in their evolutionary history was ever small enough or fast enough to reach it. "You're talking about assassination," Rex said slowly. "Getting close enough to one of those things to touch its neck would be suicide." "Not just one," Zara corrected cheerfully. "All of them. Well, all the ones that matter." She manipulated the holographic controls, and the display shifted to show the interior of the Dreadnought. Miles of corridors wound through the bioship like arteries, all leading to a central chamber that pulsed with sickly green light. "The Vorthak don't use individual ship computers," Zara explained. "They use a neural network where the senior officers literally plug their brains into the ship's consciousness. Take out the right nodes, and the entire vessel becomes a floating piece of very expensive scrap metal." Dr. Elena Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, leaned forward. "Even assuming you could somehow get aboard that monster, the environment would kill you in minutes. Vorthak ships maintain an atmosphere of methane and sulfur compounds. Without an environmental suit, you'd be dead before you took 3 steps." "Already solved," Zara said, producing a small device from her pocket. It looked like nothing more than a silver wristband. Nanofield generator. Creates a localized atmosphere bubble around the wearer. Good for about 6 hours of normal activity. Where the hell did you get military-grade nanotech? Rex demanded. Let's just say I have friends in low places. Zara replied with a wink. The real question is how to get me onto that ship without them noticing. She pulled up tactical displays, showing the dreadnought's current position. The massive vessel hung in space like a malevolent star, its bioluminescent hull casting eerie shadows across nearby asteroids. The Vorthak are currently harvesting biomass from the Kepler asteroid field, she continued. They use small collector drones to strip mine anything organic. I propose we modify one of our escape pods to look like a disabled collector drone and let them bring me right to them. That's insane, Lieutenant Kim protested. Even if you made it aboard, how would you navigate miles of hostile corridors without being detected? Zara's grin turned predatory. Sarah, sweet Sarah, you're thinking like a big person. Vorthak build everything to their scale. Their corridors are massive. Their air duct are the size of subway tunnels, and their maintenance passages could fit a small aircraft. To them, I'd be practically invisible. She gestured to the holographic ship interior. I get inside, find a neural chamber, disconnect the senior officers from their command interfaces, and watch 50,000 tons of bioengineered death turn into a very large and very dead paperweight. And then what? Rex asked. Even if this miracle plan works, you'll still be trapped on a ship full of very angry aliens who will spend eternity finding creative ways to make you pay for ruining their day. Then I improvise, Zara said simply. It's what we humans do best. The next 3 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Zara suited up in form-fitting black tactical gear, every surface designed to absorb light and muffle sound. The nanofield generator wrapped around her wrist like a piece of jewelry, its silver surface gleaming under the harsh bridge lighting. Rex handed her a modified plasma pistol, scaled down to fit her smaller hands, but packing enough punch to burn through Vorthak armor. 30 shots, he said grimly. Make them count. 30 shots for 50,000 aliens? Zara laughed, checking the weapon's charge. Rex, you really don't think much of my efficiency, do you? She moved to the modified escape pod, its exterior now covered in biomechanical growths that perfectly mimicked Vorthak technology. The cramped interior had been fitted with life support systems and a small arsenal of specialized equipment. Last chance to reconsider the suicide mission, Dr. Martinez said, performing final medical checks on Zara's vital signs. Elena, honey, Zara replied, settling into the pod's pilot seat. I've been underestimated my entire life. Teachers said I was too small for athletics. The academy said I was too small for combat roles. My ex-husband said I was too small to amount to anything significant. Her eyes hardened. Guess what they all have in common? They were all wrong. Elena ventured. They're all sorry they ever doubted me. Zara sealed her helmet and gave the crew a cheerful wave. See you on the other side. People, try not to miss me too much. The pod launched in complete silence, its modified engines producing no detectable emissions. Through the tiny porthole, Zara watched the Defiant shrink to a point of light, then disappear entirely among the stars. Ahead of her, the Vorthak dreadnought grew larger by the minute, its bioluminescent hull casting sickly green reflections on her visor. She could see the collector drones now, tiny specks swarming around asteroids like metal locusts, stripping away any organic matter they could find. Computer, begin transmission on Vorthak emergency frequencies. Zara commanded. Standard distress protocol for damaged collector units. The pod speakers crackled with alien voices, harsh and guttural like the sounds of grinding bones. Zara didn't speak their language, but she didn't need to. Distress calls were universal, and her pod's transponder was broadcasting all the right signals. A tractor beam locked onto her vessel, drawing it inexorably toward one of the dreadnought's massive cargo bays. As they approached, Zara got her first close look at Vorthak architecture. The bio-ship's hull writhed with organic movement, veins of energy pulsing beneath translucent skin. Massive sphincter-like doors dilated to admit her pod, revealing a cavernous interior that stretched beyond the limits of her vision. Well, Zara murmured to herself as the pod settled onto a landing platform among dozens of legitimate collector drones. That's officially the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And I once had to clean Rex's quarters after weekend pass. She waited until the cargo bay fell silent, then carefully opened her pod's hatch. The nanofield generator activated instantly, creating a shimmering bubble of breathable atmosphere around her. The Vorthak air beyond her field looked thick and oily, with wisps of sulphurous vapor drifting like lazy smoke. Zara dropped to the deck and immediately realized her first tactical advantage. The cargo bay was enormous, designed for beings 3 times her height. She could move between the collector drones like a mouse in a warehouse, completely hidden from casual observation. "Time to find the neural chamber," she whispered, consulting the rough schematic she'd memorized. According to her intelligence, the command center lay deep in the ship's core, accessible through a network of maintenance tunnels that had probably never seen a living Vorthak. She found her first maintenance access panel after 20 minutes of careful exploration. The biomechanical interface required no tools, responding to pressure and movement like living tissue. The panel dilated with a wet, organic sound that made her skin crawl. "Note to self," she muttered, squeezing to the opening. "Never eat seafood again." The maintenance tunnel beyond was a nightmare of pulsing walls and hanging membranes, but it was also exactly what she'd hoped for, spacious enough for her to move freely while remaining completely hidden from the ship's normal traffic patterns. Zara began her long journey toward the heart of the dreadnought, unaware that her arrival had already triggered silent alarms throughout the bioship. Deep in the neural chamber, senior officers were beginning to take notice of an anomaly in their collector drone reports. The hunt was about to begin. 3 hours into her journey through the bioship's intestinal corridors, Zara had developed a profound hatred for organic architecture. The walls breathed around her, expanding and contracting in slow rhythms that made her stomach lurch. Worse, the maintenance tunnels seemed to rearrange themselves when she wasn't looking, passages branching off in directions that hadn't existed moments before. "Living ships," she muttered, consulting her wrist display. "Brilliant idea, really. Why make navigation simple when you can turn the entire vessel into one giant digestive system?" According to her readings, she was getting closer to the neural chamber, but the bioship's interference made precise location tracking impossible. Every few minutes, her equipment would glitch as waves of alien neural energy washed over her. That's when she heard the voices. The sounds echoed to the tunnel ahead of her, deep and resonant like thunder trapped in a cave. Vorthak patrol, moving through the corridors just beyond the membrane wall. Zara pressed herself against the tunnel's spongy surface and listened. She couldn't understand their words, but the tone was unmistakable. They were searching for something. More specifically, they were searching for someone. "Well, that's just fantastic," she whispered. 3 hours of perfect stealth, and now they decide to play hide and seek. The voices grew closer. Through the translucent tunnel wall, Zara could see massive shadows moving in the corridor beyond. 12-foot-tall silhouettes with too many joints and appendages that ended in wicked claws. Her plasma pistol felt pathetically small in her hands. One of the shadows stopped directly opposite her position. For a terrifying moment, Zara was certain she'd been spotted. The creatures had swiveled in her direction, and she caught a glimpse of compound eyes that reflected light like black mirrors. Then it moved on, and she released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Time to pick up the pace," she decided, checking her nanofield generator. 4 hours of power remaining, and she still had to find the neural chamber, disable command crew, and somehow escape from a ship full of increasingly paranoid aliens. She pressed forward through the tunnel system, following her instincts as much as her instruments. The bioship's neural energy grew stronger with each passing minute, creating a low-frequency hum that she could feel in her bones. Finally, after what felt like hours of crawling through alien anatomy, she found it. The maintenance tunnel opened onto a vast chamber that took her breath away. The neural command center stretched before her, like a cathedral made of living tissue, its walls covered in pulsing nodes that glowed with bioluminescent patterns. In the center of the chamber, arranged in a perfect circle, stood 7 massive control pedestals. Each one was occupied by a senior Vorthak officer, their skulls open and connected to the ship's consciousness by thick, writhing cables. The aliens stood motionless as statues, their eyes rolled back to show only white, lost in communion with their vessel's living mind. "Now that's what I call a target-rich environment," Zara murmured, dropping silently from the maintenance tunnel to the chamber floor. The drop was longer than she'd expected. The neural chamber was designed on a truly massive scale, its ceiling disappearing into shadows 30 feet above. But the size worked in her favor. She landed without a sound on the spongy floor, and immediately took cover behind one of the many organic support columns that jutted from the ground like fossilized trees. From her hiding spot, she studied the command setup. The 7 officers were completely vulnerable, their attention focused entirely on their neural link with the ship. But between her and them prowled a dozen Vorthak guards, each one armed with bioplasma rifles that could vaporize her in an instant. "Okay, Zara," she whispered to herself. "Time to show these overgrown lizards why humans are the galaxy's premier pest species." She pulled a small device from her belt, a sonic disruptor designed to interfere with Vorthak neural frequencies. The device was experimental, untested in combat conditions, and came with a warning label that was longer than most novels. Perfect. Zara activated the disruptor and hurled it across the chamber. It landed near the far wall and immediately began emitting a high-pitched whine that made the bioship's walls convulse. The guards reacted instantly, raising their weapons and moving toward the disturbance. "Come on, you big ugly monsters," she taunted silently. "Follow the shiny noise maker like good little predators." While the guards investigated the sonic disruptor, Zara sprinted across the chamber toward the command pedestals. Her small size and silent approach kept her invisible to the searching aliens, who were scanning at their own eye level and missing her entirely. She reached the first pedestal and looked up at the connected officer. The alien was massive even by Vorthak standards, its bio-armor covered in the scars of 100 battles. The neural cables buried in its skull pulsed with streams of data. "Sorry about this, big guy," Zara said, drawing a monomolecular blade from her boot. "But you really should have thought twice before turning my species into an afternoon snack." She severed the neural connection with one swift cut. The officer convulsed and toppled backward, its link to the ship's consciousness permanently severed. Around the chamber, warning lights began flashing as the bioship registered the neural disruption. "1 down, 6 to go," Zara muttered, moving to the next pedestal. The second officer fell as easily as the first, but by the time she reached the third, the guards had figured out that the sonic disruptor was a distraction. Harsh alien voices echoed through the chamber as they began searching for the real intruder. Zara worked faster, her blade flashing in the bioluminescent light, as she cut through neural cable after neural cable. The ship's warning system screamed in harmonics that made her teeth ache, and she could feel the massive vessel shuddering around her as its command structure collapsed. She was reaching for the 5th officer when a bioplasma bolt seared the air inches from her head. "There!" roared one of the guards in heavily accented standard. "The tiny parasite." "Parasite?" Zara called back, ducking behind the pedestal as more plasma bolts lit up the chamber. "That's rich, coming from a species that strip mines entire star systems for breakfast." She rolled to the next pedestal, severing another neural connection while the guards tried to get a clear shot. The problem with being enormous, she reflected, was that it made precision targeting difficult in close quarters. The Vorthak were afraid of hitting their own command officers. "You cannot escape human insect," bellowed another guard. "Surrender now and your death will be swift." "Counter-offer," Zara shouted back, cutting through another neural cable. "How about you all lie down and take a nice long nap instead?" The 5th officer collapsed, then the 6th. Only one remained connected to the ship's systems, but the remaining guards had figured out her pattern and were moving to intercept her. Zara found herself trapped behind a final pedestal with nowhere to run. 6 heavily armed aliens were closing in, their compound eyes fixed on her position. Her plasma pistol had maybe 5 shots left, nowhere near enough to punch through their natural armor. "Well," she said to the unconscious officer above her, "this is awkward." The lead guard stepped into view, its bioplasma rifle trained on her chest. At this range, even a glancing hit would turn her into component atoms. "You'll cause great damage, Tiny One," it rumbled. "But your rampage ends here." "You know what?" Zara said, standing up slowly with her hands visible. "You're absolutely right. My rampage is ending here." She smiled and cut the final neural connection. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Every system on the Dreadnought went offline simultaneously as the bioship lost its command guidance. Emergency lighting failed, life support stuttered, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. In the chaos, Zara activated her last surprise, a flashbang grenade modified for Vorthak sensory systems. The device flooded the chamber with blinding light and sonic frequencies that sent the guards reeling in agony. While they were stunned, she sprinted for the nearest exit, her enhanced reflexes keeping her upright as the ship bucked and rolled around her. Behind her, she could hear the guards recovering, their angry roars echoing through corridors. "Computer," she said into her comm unit. "This is Captain Chun. Mission accomplished. The big scary death ship is now a very large paperweight." Static answered her. Either the ship's biointerference was blocking her signal, or the Defiance was too far away to receive it. Either way, she was on her own. Zara made her way back to the maintenance tunnels, following her original route toward the cargo bay where her pod waited. But the bioship was fighting her every step of the way, its passages contracting and expanding erratically as automated systems try to compensate for the loss of neural control. She was halfway to her destination when the tunnel ahead of her suddenly sealed shut, organic walls flowing together like wet cement. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," she muttered, turning back the way she'd come. That passage had sealed too. She was trapped in a section of tunnel barely 20 feet long, with biomechanical walls closing in from both sides. "Note to self," she said, drawing her monomolecular blade. "Never trust a ship that thinks for itself." She began cutting to the tunnel wall, her blade slicing through organic matter like butter. The ship screamed around her, its hull vibrating with harmonics that threatened to shake her apart. But the wall was thick, and she could hear pursuit closing in from multiple directions. Just when she thought she was out of options, the wall in front of her burst open. But instead of more tunnel, she found herself staring into space. The bioship had breached its own hull in its death throes, atmosphere rushing out through the gap in a hurricane of alien gases. Zara barely managed to grab onto a support strut before the decompression could suck her into vacuum. Through the breach, she could see her salvation. The Defiance hung in space less than a mile away, its hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. Rex had brought the ship in close, ready to extract her the moment she signaled. "Well," she said, checking her nanofield generator, "good news is I won't need the full 6 hours of life support. Bad news is I'm about to become the galaxy's first human meteor." She sealed her helmet, took careful aim, and jumped. The leap carried her clear of the dying dreadnought, just as its hull began to buckle and collapse. Behind her, 50,000 Vorthak warriors were discovering what happened when you underestimated something small and fast and absolutely furious. The Defiance's tractor beam caught her halfway across the void, drawing her safely into the cargo bay where Rex and the crew were waiting with medical teams and what looked like a considerable quantity of alcohol. "Well," Rex demanded as Zara pulled off her helmet, "did you actually do it? Did you really flip that thing on its back?" Zara looked out through the cargo bay's observation window at the Vorthak dreadnought. The massive vessel was tumbling end over end, its bioluminescent hull flickering and dying as internal systems failed one by one. "Rex, my friend," she said with a satisfied grin, "I didn't just flip it on its back. I flipped the entire Vorthak Empire's opinion of humanity. From now on, when they think about humans, they won't be thinking about squishy snacks." "What will they think about?" Dr. Martinez asked. Zara's smile turned predatory. "They'll think about the tiny parasite who infiltrated their most powerful warship and turned it into scrap metal. And they'll wonder how many more tiny parasites are out there, waiting for the right moment to strike." She looked back at the dying dreadnought one last time. "Sometimes, Rex, the smallest things cast the biggest shadows." In the days that followed, word of the impossible victory spread throughout both human and Vorthak space. The Empire's most feared weapon, defeated by a single human barely 5 feet tall. The psychological impact was devastating to Vorthak morale and electrifying to human resistance movements across the galaxy. Captain Zara had proven something that would echo through the stars for generations to come. Size didn't matter when you had human ingenuity, human determination, and human refusal to back down from any fight, no matter how big the predator. Sometimes the smallest prey had the sharpest teeth.